Hey friends, you're listening to Nostalgia Nation, the audio edition. I'm John Toma, also known as that 80s dude, and according to the internet, I'm officially the last human being without a podcast. I held out as long as I could, honestly. I figured if I never started one, maybe society would somehow stay balanced. It turns out the universe doesn't work that way. So here I am, entering the podcast arena 30 years after everyone else. And honestly, it feels kind of great. Not because I needed another platform, because I don't, but mostly because I grew up in a world where listening mattered. We are the mixtape generation, the radio DJ generation, the generation that sat in front of the TV with rabbit ears just right because the movie is starting and don't move or the picture will go fuzzy. We're that generation. And look, we're also the generation that bought all those early audiobooks on cassette and CD. I still have so many, honestly, and I don't know what to do with them. In fact, if you still have audiobooks on cassette or CD, let me know in the comments which ones you have, or if you've even thought to pull them out over the course of the last decade. That should be interesting to see. But hey, my point is, this podcast is my way of bringing all that back. Much less the fuzzy picture part. It's the listening part I'm really interested in. By the way, the main topic today is about remakes and reboots, and we'll get to that in a moment as I expound the reason why this show exists. Hey, listen, if you've been reading my Substack, and I certainly hope you have, you know I love writing about the things that shaped us. The moments, the music, the movies, the toys, and, the weird cultural artifacts you forgot about until I mentioned them. And suddenly you're transported back to the mall in 1988, and you're standing in that orange Julius line waiting to get a Julius burger. And hey, as I sit here in my studio in San Diego and I'm looking outside and it's overcast and sprinkling a little bit, I just love to think that some stories, they hit really different when you hear them. And there's a warmth to audio. I love that, right? In the past, we'd hear a crackle or a little bit of haziness to the audio, and there's like this closeness, right, to the speaker. And so look, there will be a time I'll record these with video, and mostly not, because a lot of us Gen Xers, we still love a traditional audio-only experience. We grew up with sound doing half the work. The imagery lived in our heads. And that's part of the charm, part of the magic, part of why I wanted to do this. This show won't be perfect. It won't be overproduced, I promise you that. I'm not hiring a team of 12 editors and tech dudes to make my studio ready for, like a presidential visit or anything like that. It's just me, this microphone, and memories that refuse to be quietly archived. Here's the thing, it's podcast culture today is wild. You've got crime podcasts, therapy podcasts, two dudes with microphones talking about nothing podcasts, and now you've got me working my hardest to keep our shared memories alive. And I know there's a lot to listen to out there. There's so many podcasts out there, but I'll tell you what, it's really tough to find a podcast that looks at what I've coined as the hybrid age. I'm talking about the analog to digital renaissance. I talk about it a little bit in my book, Nostalgia Nation, the definitive chronicle of growing up Gen X. It's a one-of-a-kind human window when culture, technology, and community overlapped perfectly before social media rewired the world. It was the golden age of shared pop culture, the dawn of personal technology, the height of communal experiences, like music, movies, arcades, malls. The final era of scarcity, which really made everything feel bigger. The rise of imagination-driven creativity before algorithms took the wheel. And what I'm talking about here, friends, is basically 1975 to 2010. That's basically the sweet spot where analog soul and digital possibility equaled magic. So the bottom line is I'm aiming to dig into that, to really bring that out in an audio format. But I also want to bridge that into current culture and society. We have things now that we need to appreciate, but it also helps to compare and see if we're doing better as a society, as people, not rushed and not manufactured specifically for social. Just honest, funny, nostalgic field notes from a generation that survived latchkey childhoods, dial-up internet, and the emotional drama of not hitting record at the right time and catching the DJ's voice on your mixtape. That really sucked, right? Anyway, having said all of that, I appreciate you being here. I'll post the audio edition when I have something to say and share. The best way to get the audio edition is to go to that80sdude.com and make sure that you're subscribed. And listen, all you need to do is enter your email in a box and hit subscribe, folks. That's it. And we'll time travel together. Now, since this is episode 1, I want to frame the first real topic around something that hits perfectly for Gen X and OG millennials especially, right? And that is the fact that our childhood franchises are back. And they're back pretty regularly. There's not a day that goes by on social when I see there's a remake or something, a new series that's related to one of the franchises of the past. And look, some of them are thriving, and some of them, should have stayed in the box next to your broken Star Wars figures. I recently saw Predator Badlands, and although I was invited to an immersive screening in LA, I couldn't make it and because of my work schedule, but I was able to screen the film a few days later. And man, this is how you continue an 80s property. Not by remaking, not by rebooting, but by expanding the universe. The Predator franchise has learned something essential. Don't replace the nostalgia, build on it, respect the lore, but don't chain yourself to the past, right? It's why Prey, which is part of the Predator franchise, landed so well. It's why Badlands feels like a continuation and not like a reanimation or a regurgitation, right? So the same thing with the Alien franchise. Those films, they survive because they keep finding new corners of the universe to explore, and that's the beauty of that, right? Not because they try to redo what can't be redone, really. And that's one of our biggest disappointment for our generation. In fact, I just read that Alien Earth, for example, has just been approved for a second season because of the incredible reception it's received from critics and fans. And that's really important. You've got to respect the lore and respect the fans. And now we've got Gremlins 3 on the radar, the Goonies 2 whispers in development rooms, and a new Masters of the Universe project trying to find the right home. And this is all happening right now as I'm recording this. Now, these aren't small deals, right? These are cultural earthquakes for a generation that still knows where they were when they first saw Gremlins, right? When you first saw Stripes' skeleton jump out of the fountain in Gremlins, right? Wasn't that memorable? Or when you heard Sloth say, hey, you guys, in the Goonies. Some remakes bomb because they forget who they're talking to. They remove the charm, they remove the practical effects, they rely heavily on, modern CGI, and they remove the weirdness and even the cheesiness. Gen X properties weren't polished. They were messy and a little insane, and that's why we love them. When you sanitize nostalgia, you kill it. When you respect it, you keep it alive. That's really the sweet spot. That's where Predator and Alien are thriving right now, and where some other reboots were dead on arrival, right, over the last few years. So the question is, what do you guys think? Is there a better way to have remakes today? Am I on the right track when I say we should expand franchises rather than try to redo them? Although I'd love to see a few films remade just because, the idea was high concept or fun, but the execution at the time was not really that great. I'll give you one example, like Critters, right? I love that film. And the original Critters, that's one of my favorite 80s flicks, actually, and it's still really good as it stands. I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't mind seeing a remake, the same exact plots, same storyline, and just remaking it with modern movie magic, not overdoing it. And I suppose we now need to say that casting needs to be on point as well, right? Because, that's one of the major gripes we have, especially Gen X, about current remakes and expansions today. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think. Which films do you think would absolutely benefit from a remake? Let me know in the comments, okay? And this just popped into my head randomly, and that's going to happen a lot, friends. I've been waiting for a sequel to The Faculty. You guys remember that movie? It's the 1998 film directed by Robert Rodriguez. And that movie is so much fun, but why haven't they expanded that franchise? I think there's so much there. All right, so that's a wrap on episode 1, you guys, for Nostalgia Nation, the audio edition. Appreciate you being here and listening. And remember, nostalgia isn't about living in the past. It's about understanding why the past matters in the first place. All right, so the last guy without a podcast signing off here. It actually feels really good to say that and to be on here with you all. So thank you again. Until next time, time travelers, keep the tape rolling and stay rad.
Yeah, I know some people fight it.